Om Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Brahmanandam Param Sukhadam Kevalam Jnanamurtim Dvandvatitam Gagan Sadrisham Tattvamasya Laksham Ekam Nityam Vimalamachalam Sarvadhi Sakshi Bhutam Bhavatitam Trigunarahitam Sadgurum Tam Namami. Om. Adoration to Sadguru, who is Brahman, the giver of supreme bliss, embodiment of pure consciousness, one without a second, vast as the ether, infinite, eternal, beyond the three gunas and their modifications, the supreme preceptor. Yoga Vasistha in Upashama Prakarana, section 70, the glory of detachment. It's a timely message. Detach from everybody. Just stay attached to yourself. And that's not just during coronavirus. This world process is the mortality virus. Every day we hear so many people dying. And nobody gets stirred up about it. But you are wiser, deep down you develop a subtle insight that this is not, as long as you are in your body, all your attainments through your brain and nervous system, no matter how successful you have been, how much you have attained, all that will be left out. It's like from a dream, when you come out, everything of your dream is left out. You are completely untouched by all that. So what are you doing to face that reality? Until you face that reality, you are constantly fooling yourself with the world that is not real. So keeping that in view, the same theme will be stretched out during this talk. This is section 70 of Yoga Vasistha Upashama Prakarana. By the knowledge of the self, a sage enjoys the bliss of the self even when he is not seated in meditation. Again, profound attainment is not dependent upon a disciplinary state of your body. So in order to experience profound joy or bliss, you don't have to become a statue. Saints remain active, dynamic, more dynamic than others. And at the same time, they are untouched internally. This point I have explained. His experience of inward bliss becomes a spontaneous. When you experience happiness in the world, it is never spontaneous. First you have to keep in suspense. You get some auspicious signs, now keep yourself alert. Ears have to be very erect. And whatever happiness comes, it hops. It comes, but it hops away. It's like a deer jumping a fox. That's what we call happiness. So all the happiness that you get as identified with your physical body, through your brain and nervous system, all that happiness counts to nothing. Unless all that is leading you to realize your essential nature. But if all that is leading you to become more attached to your body and expecting your body, your soul to have more bodies to come back again and again, that's a asakti, attachment towards the not self. Not self asakti versus self asakti. Asakti is to be drawn, to be attached. You are attached to your physical body type of existence. Then your attachment is leading you to a viral, dreadful process. Ordinary virus seems to kill one body, but this virus goes on killing you body after body. Imagine millions of bodies you have killed, and nobody thinks about it. Is not terrified by it. All this is from a profound point of view, but it was telling to the immature mind it's a terrible thing. But to attain enlightenment, you have to have mature mind. His experience of inward bliss becomes a spontaneous. Your innermost essential nature, what you are essentially. First you have to understand all souls, all human beings and all jivas, they are like reflected suns in countless jars of water. So no matter how the reflected self may be behaving in different parts, the reality behind the reflected self is only one self, the Absolute. That reflected self in you is your awareness. In order to understand how to move from reflected self to the real, first direct your attention to what is the basis of your experience. Things that you experience by your senses, they are supported by your mind. Mind is supported by your intellect. Intellect is supported by cosmic mind. And ultimately, the ultimate support is the absolute reality. So, that absolute reality is your pure awareness. To make it easy to understand, when you went to sleep, first you were aware of the world around you and aware of the problem that you have to go to sleep or the project. But now, world awareness suddenly slips away from you. You enter into your sleep. During that state, what is the awareness? The entire world is not there. An awareness of absence. But your mind, that experience, that state is not well understood by the mind. Mind needs to be enlightened to understand it. You leave the whole world and you are at your best in these 24 hours of your day. And yet, in your daily life, you never sit back and say, why am I so deluded by this, dependent on this world? And why am I expecting things to be like this, things to be like that? When deep down, I am not dependent. Proof in sleep. Put in a mathematical way, your life is, suppose, 100 years. 75 years of your life goes into deep sleep. So actually you live for 25 years. Try to figure out, should you be caught up with what we experience in 25 years and leave 75 years into dump? So therefore, first point to understand that what you think you are is not really. You are identified with not self. Body, mind, complex is not yourself, but you are identified with it. Your real self, as I described, told you, is like the sun. Instead of being attached, constantly longing to be in embodiment, try to develop an insight into who am I, not in just by simple questioning mind, but by your heart process of search, deep in your core of your heart. Who am I? And as experience develops about your I am, the experience comes in progressive way. All about your essential nature, you suddenly doesn't realize in one single moment. Until, of course, when you are ready, then it will be. For that, you don't even need a moment. Sun is always there. So as you begin to discover the higher self, the real self within you, you develop love for that experience. Because swa-asakta, you are now becoming attached to who am I, the real self. When you are attached to lower self or the not self, that attachment is a big burden. And that has no end. That attachment is a disease. It is a mortality in the form of virus. It's the worst virus you can ever imagine. And that virus is constantly after all souls that come in the world. And the entire world is a big hospital, meant to lead Allow the souls to become healthy. Sanskrit word for health is swastha. Allow your be rooted, established in swa. Swa is the self. So therefore, become more and more attached to your healthy identity. And to give you more further practical detail, this point was brought out by when Rama asked Hanuman, how am I attached? How am I related to you? Hanuman says, Deha buddhya tu dasoham. When you are attached to your body, identity with body, then view your body an instrument in the hands of God. You are just a slave. Slave in a not ordinary degrading way, is a masterly way. You are related to God and you are God's servant. So, handle that state of body identity with surrender to God. And relating yourself, God is the one. You suddenly find your injury healed, glory to God. Some mental torment you couldn't resolve and you resolved it, and insight suddenly was hiding like a big fish, flashed out. So all your life should become delicious with that sentiment called dasya ras. You are a slave in the hands of God. And you are being led by God in a loving way. That first stage of your spiritual movement, and very profound stage. Second stage of his spiritual movement, as Hanuman says, Deha buddhya tu dasoham jiva buddhya tadanshaka. The point above the soul, I am a ray, you are the sun. Literal meaning of ansh is I am a part of you. But I make it more figurative to understand easily. Being a part of God is just like sun is up there and part of the sun is a ray. You are a ray of God. But what does that now mean? You mean that all that God has, you have the same potentiality. So instead of competing with worldly people and their powers, compete with God. Turn to God. You are kind, compassionate. Well, I'm also going to be compassionate. Because I will draw you in my heart. Because I'm a ray and you are the source. The ray cannot stay without the source. So that's second stage of your spiritual movement. That you handle your problems and handle all big projects, but always realize God is the one shining with victory through you. You are not, ego is not attaining any victory. God is attaining. And how much to attain, do not limit by your mind. Because you are ansha of God. So, that opens up a big field of spiritual progress. Third level is the highest. Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Atma buddhya tava ivaham. From the point of view of the innermost essence, I and you are one. That Hanuman said. Hanuman said three things. Deha buddhya, from body point of view, I am a slave. You are the master. Jiva buddhya, from soul point of view, you are the sun, I am a ray. And for the innermost essential point of view, there is no difference. I and you are one and the same. And that three aspects brought into your personality, that's the real religion, that's the real yoga, that's the real purpose. And this is what we imply by the terms swa-asakt. You are getting attached to your real innermost self in three stages. First point, second point, third point. And attachment towards your real self ends up with absolute revelation, realization. I am that. I am Brahman. As wisdom grows, one becomes increasingly attached to the self. This attachment is not like two different things getting attached. It's a revelation. Revelation where your illusory concept of your identity moves away and real aspect shines. You are becoming less attached to your illusory aspect, more attached to the real. That's what it implies. It is this knowledge of the self that's the most potent remedy for the illness of the attachment to the objects of the world. The illness called bhava vyadhi, disease of the world process. It's a virus of mortality. Mortality virus. When the mind is free of desires for the objects of the world, a sage enjoys a state of profound peace, even in his waking state, which is very much similar to deep sleep. Now, how peaceful can you be if you follow this? That again will come to you in degrees. You will not have the absolute peace, but at least you will gain peace that doesn't turn to pieces. And I have already explained your experience of peace is a matter of your internal, your heart-based experience. If your heart is enjoying a project profoundly, just like in the families when somebody is getting married or a special festivity has come, you keep yourself so busy. An outsider will describe it as a very painful experience. Not a moment of peace. But your experience, not a moment of sadness, boredom, not a moment of distress. So therefore, experiencing peace is not dependent upon your outer, how you appear, whether you are very busy and striving or struggling or whatever you appear. On that basis, you cannot judge whether a person is peaceful or not. It's an internal matter. In enlightenment, that internal Revelation is absolute, it's the climax. It is through egoism that the chitta receives lashes of sufferings. Another formula to know: when ego becomes more swollen, increasing inflation in ego, then everything in the world becomes like lashes. Good things give you lash of one type, a friendly lash. Oh, how wonderful you did. One slap. It's an encouraging slap. Negatives you do, that's a bitter slap. Without going to those witty points, first learn to understand, more you are ego involved, greater you will receive slaps. The world that you face will become constant challenge. Lesser your ego's inflation, lesser pride, lesser egoism, less are you being whipped by the world. The world has lots of whips. And you are immune to those whips if your ego becomes completely soft. But as ego begins to rise more and more, egoism, ego is good, but ism is not. Ism means you become more obsessed by the sense of I am the body. And then become more obsessed, nobody is like me. I should go viral. And you become a kind of a virus. And the history gives you examples of egoistic people and how much harm they have done to the world. Worse than virus. So, try to understand, this is profound psychology. When you practice meditation, do yoga exercises, your body is relaxed and mind is peaceful. Same things that happen in daily life. Now you face them, and sometimes many serious things may happen. But you face them with a totally different attitude. You don't feel lashed up. You simply feel flashed up. Every situation that creates a challenge, you develop a sense of adventure, mystic adventure. That so many challenges you have faced with God within you. God has let you face all challenges. From babyhood up till now, you have faced millions of challenges. And so nothing is impossible for you. In other words, as egoism diminishes, you don't hold in your mind experience of torture, pain, frustration, distress. But if ego is inflated, then you open the door to garbage. All these pain, distress, they come freely flowing into your mind. Who causes it? The ism movement, ego becoming inflated. What will be the cure? allow the ego to lose its inflation. And how do you do it? That's what I was explaining, your practice of yoga, and more profoundly, integral yoga. How your actions should be karma yoga way, feelings should flow through devotional way, and your will follow Raja Yoga precision to handle the mind and its resources, and your intellect follows with precision to understand, to realize the real I am. And when all these are working together, they are like a strings in a veena. When they are not working together, they are creating big sounds, discord. When they work together in harmony, your life becomes filled with melody. Melody means it becomes joyous, delightful, and time passes on and you are not burdened by time and not burdened by stress. So all this, key behind all good things, all progress is formula of how to move away from egoism to surrendered ego. Ego that surrenders to God. Though a sage is beyond all karmas, yet he continues to perform actions for the well-being of others. This point has been explained before, and already have explained. As you develop an internal sense of coming closer and closer to God, and therefore a perpetual internal fulfillment, an inner delight. This being so, your personality will exude amazing. Whatever you do will have its amazing spiritual potency. Just like a flower brings aroma, your personality will begin a mystic fragrance. Even if you are not doing anything, just thinking, it will have its dynamic effect, thinking goodwill. But sages do not just simply think. They are sages who have written all the scriptures. And all inspiring things have come from the sages. Normal people can do few things. Sages have done amazing big things in their life. Shankaracharya lived only for 32 years or so. And he did amazing, voluminous works. So in other words, greater is, the more you move towards self-effacement and revelation, I am that, more dynamic you become for inspiring people without effort. A sandalwood tree has no effort in bringing out sandal fragrance. And even when the tree is injured, it pays people as a revenge, sandal fragrance. Because we have nothing else can it do. Helpless. Just as a child moves his limbs sportively while in the cradle, now the child moves limbs has not studied Hatha Yoga or no instruction. Everything is spontaneous, effortless. What we are trying to point out, effortless. The message is not for you to go back to become a child, but develop childlike, realize perfection makes you more and more free of strenuous effort. You become more and more spontaneous. The word is sahaj. Same things, to give you a very crude illustration. Start learning how to type. You introduce every finger to every little letter that it must go up. But when you are skilled, you don't even look at your fingers. and everything happens in a spontaneous way. You hardly know what you are doing. Similarly, when you start studying spirituality, then you have to start working upon how many sheaths we have, what are vrittis, thoughts, how is it related to desires, what happens when the desire is not fulfilled. All details, countless details. And that require effort. But when you begin to advance, all those points operate. Your insight has been already evolved out of all. It contains all those insights, spontaneous. And therefore, your personality becomes effortless, bambhola. And the greatest effortless example is Lord Shiva. And his presentation is bambhola, bambhola. Even children, with all their childlike nature, becomes lesser than being bambhola Lord Shiva. Just as during a stormy weather, the forests in the mountains are shaken, while the mountain remains firm and unaffected. All these are similes. Winds come, forests are shaken, but not the mountain. Similarly, you have mountain-like real personality. Your essential nature, your reality, real identity is mountain-like. Even mountain is little compared to what your inner self is. But at least allow your mind to develop that type of inspiration. In Indian masses, there were marching songs such as Khada Himalaya bata raha hai, daro na aadhi pani se. Himalaya standing is proclaiming, shouting at you, do not be afraid of wind and rains. And so follow the example. Himalaya becomes the general of the army, calling the army, Daro Radhi Padise, be like me. Though appearing to be shaken in the outer life, a sage is ever unaffected in his inward mountain-like consciousness. This point I have explained. Therefore, O Rama, abiding in the changeless nature of the self, rise beyond the body idea, and with the vision of the immutable self, be like a mountain, unaffected by the changing conditions of the world. These points have to be brought to your mind to strengthen your will that I am like the sky. So tell your mind, I want to be unaffected. The mind said, I don't care. How can it be possible? And you become yourself confused. But then bring the simile. I am the sky. Clouds can gather in the sky, but they do not create even a slightest scratch in the sky. And the clouds, the sky is not dependent upon whether the clouds have to be positive or negative. The sky is ever untouched. So that state of inner reality has to be revealed through your mind. So mind has to first digest this statement. I am Chidakash. I am the Akash, expansion of self-consciousness. Of course, Akash term comes in three levels. I am Bhutakash, physical space. I am Chittakash, the space that allows thoughts to flow. And I am a space of all space, absolute space, pure consciousness. Now we have become a spacious. All this took so much time, but when you go to sleep, it takes one drop. Within a moment, you slip into pure Akash. You're not enlightened, mind is not ready to understand it, but you slip there. Everything moves away. In fact, a sage rises beyond the three states of consciousness: waking, dream, and deep sleep. Three states, that's the favorite aspect of Vedanta study. What's the difference? Waking state, everything is normal as you see. But what happens? In dream, you have complete replica of everything of this world. To such an extent that though everything is illusion, you have no awareness of it. And then, while all this is going on, and every problem will take years to resolve, suddenly go to sleep. What happened to your years? What happened to your problems? So you are constantly moving from waking to dream to deep sleep. And put it in a more broader way, you are aware of conscious activities of your hands, body, etc. But your conscious movements connect with your mental functions, and the mind is not in the physical plane. So the mental functions are like in a positive counterpart of dream state. Deep unconscious is the positive counterpart of your sleep state. So as if these states are all there in your personality, you don't have to go at all times. Having ascended a mountain, one can look at others with amusement who are down in the valley. Now, think of yourself as adventurous, went to the mountain top. It may not be big top, but at least a certain height. And now you use your telescopes, look at the people who are down below. With great amusement. An allegorical way of saying that if you have developed that adventurous experience within, then things that were crowding your mind and making your mind void of any thrill or inspiration, those things become distant, as if you are looking at them from a distance. And when you look at your troubles from a distance, your troubles are not troubles, they are some amusements. You smile at them. Look back to the troubles that you faced when you were 5-year-old. To the 5-year-old, they were troubles. But now when you look back, you are from a mountain height, looking at what gatherings that appear so small from a big mountain height. Similarly, looking at your previous experiences in a totally different way. Put it more in a profound way, the entire world, when you are moving towards God realization, the entire world becomes illusion. In the same manner, having attained Turiya consciousness, enlightened state, while we describe the 3 states, waking, dream, deep sleep, or physical, astral, causal, the 4th state is called Turiya state, which is transcendental. It's called 4th because we have started counting it. 1, 2, 3. So I have no choice but to call it 4th. When you understand that all the 3 are completely illusory, then even that 4th is negated in philosophy, called Turiya. You transcend even the 4th. You stepped out of the 3, I'm the 4th. But all the 3 vanished before your eyes. The question of 4th doesn't arise. Having enjoyed the bliss of Turiya in life, a sage attains disembodied liberation after death. In Videha Mukti, he goes beyond all the concepts of the mind. He goes beyond Turiya and is neither blissful nor unblissful. He is called Turiyatita. Just as a piece of salt melts in the ocean, in the same way he melts in Brahman. And this theme continues in the next section, section 71. Sage Vasishtha continued, O Rama, when Turiya is attained, one becomes established in Kaivalya. Kaivalya means absolute I am. Keval term means I alone. Literal meaning means is very lonely. You are absolutely alone. Philosophical it means absolute non-duality. One without a second. A sage who has attained liberation during his life is called a Jivan Mukta, liberated in life, and with the exhaustion of the prarabdha karma, he attains videha mukti, disembodied salvation. The state of videha mukta is called Turiya Tita, goes beyond all the three concepts of waking, dream, deep sleep. Because he goes beyond all the concepts of the mind itself that has been counting, Turiya is a pure state of consciousness, realized by the negation of the three states of waking, dream, and deep sleep. Seen from the point of view of the world, Turiya is described as the fourth state. However, when every trace of the world consciousness is transcended by a sage, the same pure consciousness is called Turiya Tita. In fact, there is no basic difference between these two terms. Means whether you call it fourth or call it even transcending the fourth. There are two ways of looking at it. With this I am concluding. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukma Bandhanan Mrityor Mukshyamamritat Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina Sarve Santu Niramaya Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kashchid Dukha Bhag Bhavet Om Shanti Shanti Shanti